Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah, your Christian forgiveness coach, and welcome back to Forgive Everyone for Everything Every Day Right Away. Today, I want to talk to you about forgiveness and your memories. So, in my podcast, if you've listened to my podcast entitled Forgive Everyone for Everything Every Day Right Away, I've talked about like the difference between circumstances and our thoughts, or circumstances and our story about them, the facts versus what's going on in our mind about them. I've talked about, our thoughts and doing thought work. So today, I want to tell you about an experience that I've had that's helped me in my forgiveness practice. So it has to do with accessing memories and then changing your perception of them. It's similar to the thought work, but with this twist that I know you're going to love. So, a little bit of backstory. Something my husband often tells me is that he doesn't feel loved by me. I love him, of course I do, very much, but I have a difficult time expressing it through words and actions. So I've been working on this in my forgiveness practice, with my coaching, with my life coaches, with my marriage counselor, with my pastor, everything. So recently I was in counseling and I was describing to my counselor how I would have like this idea, this picture in my head of what I wanted to say to my husband, what I wanted to do. Like, I wanted to hold my husband. I wanted to look at him and tell him how much I loved him, tell him how much I appreciate him. And I would have all these big plans to do it, and I'd do my thought work about it. I'd think positive thoughts and I'd get all pumped up. And then when the moment would come, I would just fall flat. It wouldn't happen. And I literally couldn't force myself to do it in the moment. And I couldn't figure out why. Like, was I scared? I didn't feel scared. Was I embarrassed? I didn't feel embarrassed. I wanted him to know how I felt. So, why was I doing this? So, when I told my counselor how I couldn't bring myself to do these things that I was coming up with in my mind to do, he asked me something really interesting. He asked me, where did I feel this aversion in my body? Which was so cool because we do this in life coaching as well. So I looked for it and I couldn't feel it, like in my gut or my chest or my throat. I felt it behind my eyes. It was like in my eyes. It was like I didn't want to make eye contact. It was as if I had like this aversion to eye contact. I didn't want to look at my husband and I didn't want him to look at me. And so my counselor asked me to close my eyes and go back to the very first time that I could remember feeling this way in my body. So I sat there for a bit and it took me a minute, but I found a memory. And I was actually about 6 or 7 years old. And I'm surrounded by people that I love and look up to. My mom's there. My three sisters are there. I did not grow up with them. They were all about a decade or so older than me, and they lived in another state. And so they were visiting my mom and I in Florida. And we lived on a beach, and I see them, and I see my beach house, and I see the sand and the ocean. And they're laughing and talking amongst themselves. And I'm looking at them, but they're not looking back at me. And in this memory, I'm feeling like desperate to be seen. Like I feel very alone in this memory. And so then my counselor does this. So he asks me, stay in this memory and now look for Jesus there. Find him. Where is he and what is he doing? And so when I do that, I see him. He is standing right in front of me. I can still see the beach behind him. My family is still there doing what they're doing, talking and laughing. But what is Jesus doing? He is looking right at me, right into my eyes, and he is smiling. He is smiling this beautiful smile that just pours out love and understanding and acceptance into my little heart. And I can't help but smile. And I start just crying, these tears of joy in my counseling session, just streaming down my face. And my brain does this thing with this memory, creates this positive pathway in my mind about it. I no longer feel desperate to be seen. I no longer feel alone. In fact, I feel more loved than I ever have. And it's so beautiful, right? So I open my eyes in the counseling session and I turn and I look directly at my husband, right in his eyes. I take his face in my hands and I tell him how much I love him, how much I appreciate him, how much he makes me laugh, how much I genuinely like him as a person. And it was amazing. It was so amazing. I remember I'm sitting in the session, I'm like, can we do that again? So I wanted to do it again. I wanted to see if I could do it again with another memory. And so I gave my counselor another example. I told him how, like, my husband complained that I always gave him like this look of disdain. I am aware of this look. It is the same look that my mom gave me when she disapproved of something that I did. And I've caught myself giving my own daughter this look and been able to stop. But with my husband, it's become like almost kind of like this automatic thing. I don't even realize I'm doing it. So again, my counselor asks me to go back to the first time that I can remember receiving this look from my mom. No problem. I remember it like it's yesterday. Now, usually when you do this, the memories like from childhood, but for me, this particular memory, I'm 28. I had just gotten married a month prior, and my mom and I had always had a really close relationship. And I think when I got married, that she felt some pain over that, for like what she perceived as losing me to a husband. I now had someone else to go to, someone else to depend on. And I think this hurt for her. So it was our first Thanksgiving. And I remember I'm standing at the sink and I'm peeling potatoes. And she's watching me. I look over at her, and boy, was I doing it wrong. Like, she was looking at me in such a way that I like felt wrong as a human being. I was wrong. Everything about me was wrong. And that's how this look felt. And I remember just walking out of the kitchen and away from the potatoes and going out to see my horses, trying to process what had just happened. I was confused and hurt and angry. And so now, back in my counseling session, he asks me to go back. So stay in that memory when I'm getting that look. And now look for Jesus there. Where is he and what is he doing? And I see him immediately. He's standing right next to me at the sink, like shoulder to shoulder. I can feel his shoulder against mine. And he's looking at me with that same beautiful smile, that smile that tells me, you are doing it exactly right. You are exactly where you're supposed to be right now, and I love you. And again, immediately, I just smile, that joyful smile, and that memory is forever changed for me now. I forgave my mom, and I haven't given my husband the look since. So have you ever struggled with something and then gone back to a first memory like this? Try it. Go back to that specific memory and look for Jesus there. I promise you, he was there. And I've done it on my own now with a few really tough memories where I feel like the initial experience is now affecting me in the present. I've gone back to that first memory and looked for Jesus there in that imprinting memory, that first experience that imprinted something in my mind. And I listened to what he's telling me in that moment. I'm always loved, always accepted, and I'm always right where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, even if it's something I know is wrong at the time. He is still there, loving me through all of it. Like, wow, that's so beautiful, right? So when you go back to that memory now, the memory is the same, right? The circumstances are the same, but notice your perception and how it makes you feel now that you see Jesus there with you. That memory of my mom and my sisters, that memory of my mom looking at me as I peel potatoes, totally different feeling now. Seriously, friends, this makes me cry happy tears of joy, and it makes me feel so loved. So this is truly an amazing practice that you can add to your forgiveness work. You can do it anytime, anywhere, with any memory. Let his presence there bring you joy and peace. Until next time.